Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Swadheen Sehgal. I'm heading up the consulting practice for the Peterson Technology Partners. We are here with Professor Roger Moray, and Professor Roger Moray teaches at University of Chicago in the Booth School of Business also. And I recently finished up the CAIO course, and he was the professor for the business strategy, how to build the AI business strategy and deliver the business value. So today we are having conversation with him around the same topic, and looking forward to hear his thoughts, how the organizations are building up the business AI strategy, how they are helping out to do the transformation, AI transformation going through it. Welcome, Mr. Roger Moore.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with the audience. I hope that we're able to come up with some really good information, some good insights that will be helpful to the group.
Awesome. I think the first topic of discussion is that everybody is talking about the AI, and every organization wants to go through that transformation. What is the reason why these organizations are still, some of them are struggling or figuring it out? What's the best way to execute it? So what are your perspective and what are your thoughts about it?
I think there's a couple of things going on that are causing problems. I think one of them, and we'll likely talk more about it, is that they're not identifying those things that are most valuable to the organization. They're putting too much on what everybody else is saying is cool. The kind of like, for lack of a better term, it's like, agentic. Everybody's saying that, but that's not necessarily the best AI for your organization to do. So it's figuring out what's of value to your organization. That's critical. The second thing is to make sure that your organization has the capability to actually deliver upon whatever it is you decide to do. So do you have the metrics set up? How do we measure success? Do you have the governance in place to support whatever the AI is that you're doing? Do you have people to support it? If there's a help desk that needs to be there, if there's updates to the modeling that's being done, things like that, and the processes to be able to change things too. So basically an operating model. I think a lot of issues, or a lot of AI fails because it can't be sustained long term. They can start it and they did it, but they can't make it work long term.
No, that makes sense. And you hit the important point on the metrics part of it, that a lot of these organizations are buying different tools and they are executing it, but they are figuring it out after the 1 year or 6 months down the road. People are not using those tools. Initially, they get excited, they look into it, and then it becomes a challenge from the ROI standpoint of view. Are these really, all of these toolings are needed, or how much difference they are making it from their everyday period of the life part of it? Considering that, where should then the AI strategy or AI transformation in the organization start? What is the level where do you recommend it?
Yeah, and this goes back to, as I was saying, it's like, what's important to the business. So everything that you do in AI is like most other projects in the organization. It's like, what does the business need? And the business is not going to say, well, the business is going to say agentic, because that's what they're hearing. But they don't know where AI can help. And so it's having conversations with the business. I consult, have consulted for many years. And I go into the CEO and I say, what's keeping you up at night?
Okay.
What's the big problem that you have? And then if it's something, and likely it will be, something that AI can have an impact on, then we can talk about how AI is going to change that problem into something that works. But if you just jump in with an AI solution, you're not necessarily solving a big problem. You're just doing what everybody else is. And you risk missing the boat on that.
Oh, that's a great point. And in every organization, there are the different levels, different people out there. If I look at coming from the IT consulting background point of view, IT team members are always very crazy that they are looking into now different tools. They are trying to do it, the transformation. And similarly, there is other type of people who think about it. Hey, AI is not, it's more like a bubble. It's going to burst. It's not the right tool set or technology. I will be still needed around. If I think from that, should we start the transformation or thinking perspective from the leadership perspective point of view or the lower level? Where exactly you think that who should
Yeah.
be taking the path of that, defining the path
Yeah,
from?
and I think kind of really hitting that home. It's like leadership has to start this.
Yes.
The leadership has to say these are the important things for my business in order for it to succeed, and then take it to like so now help me understand where I can do that. So IT, how can you help? HR, how can you help? And point out those things. The CAIO ends up being kind of integral to all of that because they can translate whatever those things are into what are the AI tools that can have an impact in those specific areas. Um, Up to that point, most people, in the organization probably don't know. Maybe they've read a little bit or something like that, but the chief AI officer has to be, or that team has to be the ones that help identify what are the things that we can do that are going to make a difference. So
Right.
starting
Okay.
at the top and then pushing it down into the functions, into the business units, and helping them figure out what to do next.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense. And now it's kind of in the middle. A lot of these organizations have already purchased a lot of tools. They are going through the transformation. What is your recommendation or any kind of template or metrics? What do you suggest? How do we assess the organization maturity level? At what level they exist? What type of projects these guys should be picking it up? If you can speak a little bit about it, that would be really great.
Yeah. So when I think of like a maturity model, it is kind of across 7 building blocks.
Mhm.
I need to think about where am I in terms of a vision for the organization from an AI perspective, and where have an AI strategy. Both of those have to be based completely on the business vision and strategy. I
Right.
can't just create something completely separate. I can't be thinking about our business strategy is to grow in North America, and then the AI strategy is to create tools in Europe. It's like those don't sit well together. And then after that, I need to think about metrics. What are the metrics that I use to kind of figure out you know are we succeeding? Is this really doing something? Is it impacting the business? And some of those are going to be business measures. Some will be more on the AI side of how it's performing, but some are going to be, am I increasing revenue? Am I
Mm.
reducing costs? Things like that. Next up, I need to think about operating. Do I have governance in place to kind of manage this AI tool? Do I have the people to support this? Do I have the processes in place that allow me to change things? The governance, all of the models themselves. Do I have those things in place to do that? Finally, then I can look at the technology, the specific tools that I need to have. And along with that, talk about data and things like that as well. But I think of it that in those 7 building blocks. So vision, strategy, metrics, then governance, people, and processes, and then finally technology. And I can measure where we are on each of those 7 dimensions. And that allows me to say, where are we in terms of maturity? It's like, where are we with our vision and strategy? And there's ways of measuring that.
Right. Now you're bringing up a very important point that your AI strategy should be aligned with your business strategy. One organization might have the customer service is as a highest priority, which is part of their business strategy perspective point of view. Then it should be the AI strategy should be aligned with that, and it should be focused based upon that. That how AI strategy can help it to the long-term vision, which might be set from the years perspective point of view, how we can get it and
Yep.
going on that
Yeah,
part of it.
exactly. And you can even apply that to when you think about I've got a business strategy for the organization. HR might have a take on their strategy from the business. That's a very specific set of things. So AI, again, general AI strategy does supports the business strategy. AI strategy with HR has got to address what HR is trying to do to support the business. Again, they've got to be aligned. You can't just build out AI for AI's sake. You've got to think about lining up with the business that you're supporting.
Right. How do we see that an organization is not ready for the AI? What are the signs which you see it, or what are the action items they should be taking it to become ready for that?
I think it is one of those things where they respond to what the market is saying, the bright shiny thing, right? Right now, a lot of people are talking agentic, right?
Right.
That's the solution to everything. It's like if you look at what's going on in that space, you start to realize that not all agentic models provide real value. So I guess stepping back, it's like what really counts is you need to look at what are those initiatives that I'm thinking about, and do they really provide value, or um, is it just kind of the bright shiny object that's happening right now? In fact, what I'll say is I always like to think about each initiative in terms of what's the impact it's going to have on the business. So how well is it tied into the strategy? Is it generating revenue or reducing costs? But how is it impacting the business? And then how easy is it to do? Can I do this? Do I have the data to actually do this? Right. Again, a lot of those quick, bright, shiny things, agentic, people will grab the data, clean all the data up, and then throw it in. But it's not sustainable because the data in the system is now not clean, and you can't all of a sudden just spend a pile of time to clean it up again and throw it in. Well, you could, but it's not easily sustainable. So you've got to think about how impactful is this initiative and how easy is it for me to do. And starting out, I want to find those things that are impactful and pretty straightforward to do, easy to do.
So Roger, we are discussing about like the data, those type of challenges with the organization is having to get the AI ready. Can you give some specific examples what you have faced? I will share with you my thoughts also as part of the consulting. Would love to hear your thoughts with some practical examples which can help our viewers also.
Yeah, I was working with the CIO of a Fortune 50 retail firm, and they had the story that the executives got really excited about the technology, literally spent millions of dollars building out the tool capabilities within the IT structure. Okay. They got it all built and then told the business, like, here it is. Here's the tools. Go ahead and do things. At that point, the business kind of pointed out, we don't know how to use those tools. Nobody in our organization has ever used those. We'll need some money and time now to actually train up and be able to take advantage of those. So either we got to get consultants in, or you've got to give us some time to do this. So again, kind of they got excited about something and spent the money on the technology, but weren't prepared as an organization to do anything with it yet. So that was a big kind of eye-opening thing for the organization, that they just can't build it. They've got to think about, can the organization use it, or what can the organization do best? You said you had an example.
As part of the PTP, we are building up a lot of voice AI agents. And those voice AI agents, when I'm calling somebody, we received a use case from the sales organization. Hey, we want to call the 10,000 people and want to do the cross-selling and upselling on the different parts of different products. And the challenge was that those calling numbers were invalid, and those calling numbers were in the not the same format, and the contact information, those lot of the things. Right. So our first step was that how do we help from you either using the AI or other processes, make sure that those data is cleaned up and we are calling the right people. So we have to go through the process even of using our AI agent to quickly call them and make sure that the person is right or not, or verify from the other sources like Apollo and other places, making sure that the data is cleaned up. And we didn't stop on that cleanup. We also built up the process where in the MDM, these guys were storing all the customer information, that this data is always, for the future perspective point of view, is created correctly. And it has the right format and it has the right information. And whenever there is a change which is happening up, let's say we are receiving the new invoices, new process, that we are updating the system and making sure that that data is in the clean and pristine format, so that next time when I have to go from the sales standpoint of view, it is making sense and we are connecting with the right people. And this was even the sales use case, but it helped them internally a lot from other processes and even the customer service perspective point of view. Whenever they had the issues, they knew that who to contact and what exactly needs to be taken care of it. So that's one of the examples I can share with you.
Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier too, around there are times when you need more information than just basic customer name and address and title. Sometimes you need something like, what industry are they in? What business unit are they in? What function are they supporting? So that when you are marketing, when you are selling, that you are targeting the right people. And that's saying my base information might not be sufficient to do all the things that I want to do. So it's building out the data. It's cleaning up the data that all comes together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another example I can give it to you, that today I was talking with a manufacturing company, and they want to get so much dump out of all the machines with the different type of information. So my first basic question was that, do you really need all of that? If I think from the machine down point of view, we are building up some agents on top of it to get what is my percentage of uptime and other things. I need limited information. Why do you want to gather all of this and dump into your databases, even though it's going to create a lot of confusion later on part of it?
Yeah.
So these type of things which are helping it to think perspective point of view, how you can be AI ready, what exactly your agent is looking for, and how you can make a difference, versus now building up another huge data warehouse which might be sitting there and not being useful part of that.
Yep.
So those are some of the examples which we can share with you.
Very good. Very good.
Yep. Now, one other thing is that I get a lot of use cases whenever I work with the different CIO levels and CEO levels. The part of the communication is that procurement guy is coming. He wants to do the document management. When I go to the IT part of it, they want to do their automation of the ticketing process. When I go to the let's say business perspective point of view, the sales guy, he wants to build up the sales-wise AI agents so that it can automate the process. What is strategy perspective? How should I prioritize and these use cases? How should I define which one is more uh, uh, better use case from the AI standpoint of view versus considering every one of them? Because everybody is looking for the AI transformation and everybody thinks that their use case is the first priority. What are your thoughts on that?
So it is getting to a point where you quantify, and I'll go back to my 2x2. I want to quantify impact to the organization, and I want to set what are the specific probably factors that go into each of the dimensions. So is it revenue generation? Is it risk tolerance? Is it, all of those kinds of things that are business focused? And I'll tally it up and come up with a score for impact on the business. In the other dimension, I want to talk about ease of implementation. Do I have the data available? Do I have the tools in place? Do I have the people in place to support it? Is the governance there to support it? The more of those I don't have, the harder it is to kind of put that into place. And then for any given initiative, I can score it on those two dimensions. Those things that are in the upper right quadrant are both impactful and easy to do. Kind of a no-brainer in terms of that one's good. And I can sort of say, those are the ones I'm likely going to go after. The upper left corner are still strategically important, but are a little bit harder to do. I may want to, in terms of the executives, say, that one's worth going after. That's so important to us. That's such an impact. And I know it's harder, but let's go do it. So I will say there's some science to the 2x2 and getting them all placed. But that there are some thinking, strategic things where I say, you know what? I know these are all easy and impactful. This one is more impactful than a lot of those. And I know it's harder, but we need to get after that. In fact, I've worked with an organization where there was one, because of the way we set up the scoring, it ended up in the lower left corner. It was really hard to do, and it really wasn't that impactful to the organization, but we didn't score this well. It was required for regulatory compliance. And so it's sort of like, okay, got to do that one. We know that it's not terribly impactful the way we measure things, but it's impactful because we need regulatory approval to do these things. So just by having the 2x2 doesn't mean it's the be all end all. It's somewhat science, but it still has to be kind of, art in terms of picking which ones you do. But going back to your kind of original question, once I have that 2x2, I can walk through scoring any new initiative on those dimensions and show a person where it falls in respect with everything else and say, yes, this looks pretty good, but we've got a set of initiatives that are higher impact and easier to do. We can't bump you up in the order that way, right? So coming up with a formal way of doing that. So absolutely. Science and art with that. So,
Right.
okay.
No, I really enjoyed in your class also discussing about this metrics. So I think we can share with our viewer also. We will add it into the slide format, so that gives the idea that how this 2 by 2 can be defined and how people can use it from their
Yeah.
metrics perspective point of view. That will be really helpful.
Yeah.
One another thing, as part of the AI strategy, a lot of organizations are struggling build versus buy, and people like who are more technology oriented, who are deep into that, I would love to build it all the solutions home by itself. But then when I see the industry challenges on how the AI area is changing, it's buy comes into the field also.
Yeah.
And so what's your perspective and thought about it when we are defining the execution part of the use cases? How should an organization proceed about that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to how we thought about the build versus buy on a lot of the technology projects, just
Right.
in general. It's like, if this is incredibly strategic to the organization, I'm much more willing to build it to get it exactly right and to support our strategic concept. The more it's just part of what's going on, say an ERP system, I don't want to build an ERP system. I probably don't even want to customize it too much. I want to buy it off the shelf and let the ERP company keep it up to date, keep it going. So I think it's very similar in that respect. If there's an AI project that's critically important to our strategy, I'm more willing to actually build it out and get it exactly right, or customize something off the shelf if it's already pretty close. But I want to think about it that way. I
Right.
don't want to be building things that off the shelf are better than what I can build, and especially are going to stay up to date, much more, be frequently updated, as opposed to it's going to cost me a lot to keep it up to date.
No, makes sense.
Okay.
And sometimes the co-partnerships with the vendors also help, that, hey, we are going to keep certain piece which is going to be proprietary to us, that cannot be shared, but with their expertise, they can help to build you also as part of the execution, as compared to everything just building it yourself, because technology resources are limited also, and as the
Yeah.
things are changing, I think that can be another path for the
Yeah,
organization
that
also.
we've negotiated. I've, in my past role, negotiated contracts where we'll help you build in some new features.
Right.
We get 6 months
Mhm.
without anybody else having that feature, but then you can release it to everybody else. You can put it in your main product and then start updating it with everything else.
Yep.
But we get some use of it first. So,
Yes.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Another part is that from organization strategy perspective point of view, it's it takes time that to think about it, and a lot of boards and a lot of C-level people are putting the pressure that, hey, everybody's talking about the AI, let's start making the change, let's start executing it. What's your recommendation? What can be a middle way path for the senior leadership to be successful in their organization? How should they approach it? Uh, uh, Defining the long-term strategy perspective point of view, or start showing some organization changes?
That, and it's a combination, right? It's realizing, if you've got the 2 by 2, you know, some of the easier things that
Right.
have high impact, some of those are probably good to do, but you also have to be building that underlying capability. You've got to be building, like, the data. I always like saying that um, data and AI are two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
I can't be doing one without the other. I can't create amazing AI without the data that supports it. So I've
Right.
got to be fixing both. And so that underlying kind of data capability, the underlying organization, I got to have governance in place to support these things. So I've got to keep building that up as I'm going. But yeah, I do want to have some of those quick wins as we're going too. So yeah.
And quick wins with the speed which we can deliver it with a little bit cost perspective point of view, or with the support of certain partners.
Yeah.
That I think is the key thing from the organization, because this is a journey which organization is taking it. As we are showing the benefits of it, in parallel we can work on defining the long-term strategy, how we can take the bigger initiatives and
Yeah.
get it going on this.
And some of the early AI might not be optimal.
Right.
It's going to have to be based on the data that we do have, based on the capabilities we do have. So it might be a stepping stone. So right now, this is what we can do. I always like it. It gets very simple, but if I don't have really clean data, the first model I might be able to build is much more heuristic. If it's
Yes.
less than 3, I do this. If it's 3 to 7, I do that. If it's greater than 7, I do a third thing. Once I get more data and the data is cleaner, I might be able to build regression models. Once I get enough data that's clean, I start thinking about machine learning models that I can build. So I have steps, heuristic to regression to machine learning. And that's dependent upon the capabilities that are underlying what I'm trying to do.
No, very well said. So, as you are teaching the courses as part of the Wood School of Business program, you are going through every quarter near about 60 to 80 students, which are mostly C level and V level. And during our class, we discussed about a lot of the use cases what organizations are going through. Can you share some of the summary of those use cases or high level use cases where most of the organizations are first picking it up and going through that journey?
And yeah, it does come down to people are being thoughtful about doing it, and there are a lot of organizations that are sharing that. In the class, I talked about, and this is public, and I'll share it here about a large financial institution. Literally shared that one of the first things they did was to use AI to review contracts. They have just a huge number of contracts. After they got the tool done, they were able to eliminate over 300,000 hours of legal review of contracts and replace it with an AI tool that could do it much faster. Didn't mean that every single contract was reviewed, but the vast majority, over 300,000 hours of review, was handled by AI. And they could focus on the tricky contracts, the hard things to do. So it fundamentally changed how they did things, is one example that I can share with you. So.
Right. Now, a couple of other areas where we are seeing with our customer. One is the customer service, that using the voice AI agents, that they are figuring it out. Automation of the process. Sometime I'm calling the pharmacy to just check my order status part of it, right? Or building up the customer service agent, which can understand in my natural language that what we are talking about, and then giving the answers based upon it. That's the one focus area which we are seeing it from the customer service perspective point of view, how we can give them the different AI solutions and with the voice combination where they can give equivalent to the human service part of it. And whenever there is needed on the human in the loop, they are definitely connecting it with the human also. But otherwise, most of the questions, I can answer it in a natural language, whether what is my flight status or what is my medicine pickup status, or any kind of questions I have. What are the next challenges which are happening?
There are times I can't tell the difference, right, between a live agent and an AI agent,
right?
Answering questions for me.
Right. So. Another thing is that internal in the organization, a lot of times we have the questions that, hey, what's the status of my application leave process, or am I eligible for the 401k or not? We are seeing a lot of the chatbots which are now fully AI automated, and they are able to, all the intranet, all the information is available on the fingertips, and they are able to answer those questions as compared to finding out somebody in the HR. And those are some of the key use cases which we are seeing it, which are there. AI governance and risk is also one of the big areas.
Yep.
When we take the use cases and when we start doing it, what are your thoughts from the risk assessment point of view, and what kind of governance model we should be putting in the place?
So yeah, governance is capability. So I put that in as part of, do I have it? And if I don't, I've got to think about that makes this initiative harder to do because I have to build out the governance that supports it. And then risk is very much in a similar way. I account for it in the fact that if I have to assess the risk to understand what's going on, and I need to try to mitigate the risk as part of the process. And I think I would like to again put that into the impact of this specific initiative. So the risk is kind of on the impact. If it's really risky, impact, it can be negative, right? So if this financially puts me at risk, if I can't mitigate that risk somehow, I've got to take a hit on how impactful this is, because it might have a negative impact. And then same with the capability. I've got to have governance. If I don't, I've got to build it out before I can really let this go. I can't put this out without having governance in place. Does that So both dimensions get covered with those two things.
Right. And when we are talking about the governance, what exactly as an organization can you share? What should we do the first? Whether we should define the AI, the governance policies part of it, or whether we look into the data governance. What are your thoughts on the different part of that?
Yes, right. We got that two-sided coin again.
Right.
I don't think you can get into AI very far without having data governance in place, because having good data is going to allow me to have good AI. But I also then, once I'm getting into the AI, I've got to have the governance around that. So AI governance has to come into play as well. So both sides of the coin have to be addressed, or I'm going to run into trouble.
And I think another important process is the human oversight process. That whenever you define it, the governance rules and everything, that making sure that some of there's time they need to be adjusted accordingly based upon the human oversight. That those are some of the key things which are there.
Yep.
And defining the security and compliance frameworks. That is, I think, another important piece of it when you're defining the governance policies.
Yep,
part of
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Right. So another thing is that once you define it, how do you take the roadmap? What exactly, and what are the different type of team members I have to build it when I'm with the roadmap from to execute the AI roadmap part of that?
So people is part of that capability that I need to build, and that's what makes it harder sometimes if I don't have the structure in place, right? So I do need, I just can't say governance and create it. I've got to have typically a governance committee.
Okay.
Or a governance council, or somebody that's responsible for governance. So there's people involved with governance. There's people involved with development. There's people involved with supporting agents. And I need to identify for each of those different initiatives that I'm talking about, what are the people that need to be behind the scene to make that happen? What's the governance that needs to be in place? What are the processes I need to make sure that I can adjust? That I'm looking for model drift. If it's a predictive model, I have ways of looking at model drift, can catch it, and can update the models appropriately. So I have to build that in as part of the capability. Does that?
No, that sounds good.
Okay.
Definitely agree with that. And I think the team maturity is the different thing.
Yeah.
Means either you have to work with the partners or you have to build up your internal team, which brings the right expertise on the table to help execution of that roadmap.
Yeah.
The new role of the CIO, which we talked about it, and then similarly the teams, either it is AI, ML engineers and other people which are needed to successfully execute that roadmap. The team building is very important,
Yeah.
which you have to execute either with the internal people or with the external partnership part of it.
Yep.
So, Professor Roger, we had really good discussion. Do you want to give any summary to our viewers that, hey, this is from a culture point of view, from the strategy perspective point of view, what is the most important from the organization, and how should they take this transformation journey?
Yeah. So fundamentally, I believe you need to not do the knee-jerk reaction to what everybody else is doing. You need to think about this. You do need to be strategic about what you're doing. And I think taking advantage of, pushing that along, understanding what is my organization capable of doing. So my maturity is important. That lets me figure out what I can do. And then having that 2x2, a way of looking at my portfolio of initiatives and saying, these are the high impact, easy to do. These are high impact, harder to do, all the way to, low impact, really hard to do. And I have to think about those things. I can still make judgments about which ones to do when, but I want to have those. Okay. And so it is, and you were saying it, it's like, I need to think about short-term wins, those
right
upper right, but I also need to think about building the capability out so that I've got something I can keep adding more to. In fact, if we take that 2x2, if I'm building out capabilities, a lot of those things that are on the 2x2 start shifting to being easier to do as I add new tools, as I clean up the data. Some or all of the initiatives start shifting, and they all become easier to do. Which is kind of nice. The strategy side shifts on its own, so to say. Things happen. A competitor does something that requires you to think about certain projects being more important now. Something big hits, like a COVID hits.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's some things that were in-store related AI that aren't relevant anymore. They become very less important, and things that were, remote. There are a lot of restaurants that started doing delivery. So all of a sudden, delivery capabilities, those kinds of AI agents became critically important to them. So thinking about impacts, both directions come in. So I guess it's be strategic. Don't go after what everybody else is doing. Think about what's important and build your capability so that you can keep responding and start responding faster.
So, Roger, we are working with several of the clients, and one of the key questions which we keep on getting is how, as a PTP team, we can help them. So I have a couple of options which I'm sharing with our clients. Is one is the 2-hour workshop there where you and me will come on site. We'll show them the methodology, how they can build up the business strategy, how they can AI strategy, which is aligned with the business strategy piece of it. What are the different use cases they can think about it? How can they build the roadmap and execution? That's a high level discussion, but that leads into the 2 days workshop, which is going to be more detailed. And if needed, we can, based upon the organization needs, convert into the full 4 to 5 days week of the workshop also. But the overall objective is taking with their senior leadership team, sitting together, understanding their challenges, where they are from the AI maturity perspective point of view, what is the path, how we can help them to define their AI strategy, what are the different team members which is needed, what are the different risk and governance perspective point of view, what these guys have to, what any organization has to set it up. Those are the key things which I think as part of the workshop they can come and help them. Love to hear your thoughts also.
Yeah, I think this is really important. It's like, this is brand new. This is something that most senior leaders in an organization haven't been exposed to before. Some might be playing with this to some degree, but getting help makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Getting started makes a lot of sense. And I'll caution them. I know you're very much this way. It is about helping and getting them started. But I would, caution organizations, like, get the start, get going, get the understanding of what's there, but make sure that you're learning as part of what you're doing so that you can start doing some of it on your own. Again, as you stretch in different new directions, get the help to get there as quickly as you can, but make sure that you can sustain it after the consulting firm is gone, right?
Yes. No, 100% agree with you. Thank you once again for giving the insight, thoughts, and summary of this session, that how we can help the organizations to build up the business AI strategy. Looking forward to work with you.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.